Senator Patty Murray clashed with the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about the Digital Equity Act isn't some abstract line item in a budget. It's about whether a child in rural Alabama or Washington state can log on and learn, whether a senior citizen can access telehealth care, whether someone who lost everything in a storm can get back online and rebuild their life. It's the digital lifeline of modern America, and Murray made it clear that withholding those funds isn't just bureaucratic negligence, it's a moral failure.
Over the last few months, I am deeply concerned because we have seen mass firings at NOAA that are really seriously jeopardizing the weather forecasting that we all count on. Funds have been frozen, grants and contracts have been abruptly canceled, and agencies that were created by Congress in a bipartisan way have been shuttered unilaterally, really ignoring the law and sweeping thoughtful tariffs that are crunching small businesses and raising costs for our families. And we have seen President Trump illegally block some emergency funding House Republicans included in their year-long CR, which has cut off funding your department counts on for trade fairness, export controls, NOAA satellites, and more. So needless to say, I don't think any of this helps advance the department's mission to spur economic growth and strengthen America's competitiveness, and it does leave me very seriously concerned about whether the department is going to be able to carry out its job. Now, before I turn to my questions, I do want to quickly raise your decision to cancel $48 million in Tech Hub funding for the American Aerospace Materials Manufacturing Center in Eastern Washington and Idaho, alongside several other hubs. We've had a chance to talk about this yesterday, but I want you to know I have a lot more questions than I think you answered. This hub is really a partnership of industry, academia, military, governments at all levels. Canceling that funding and further delaying progress at the Tech Hub really damages our defense industrial base and limits our ability to compete with China, as I told you yesterday. So that is unacceptable, and I look forward to you resolving that as soon as possible.
Okay, we have not canceled anything. And just to let you know, I do have, since we discussed it yesterday, I do have the $220 million. We did draw it down before the date it was due, and we have the funding for the tech hubs. We are going to fund the tech hubs.
Okay,
I have the funding, the 220, right? And the additional 280 comes when there's a forward auction. But I have the money. We will fund them. I'm not canceling them. I just need to make sure they do the benefit of the bargain.
I appreciate that. And as I said
correctly.
yesterday, we need an answer that everybody understands is critical. Now, I do want to ask you while you're here, one of the agencies that you oversee is NOAA. It is absolutely essential to supporting sustainable fisheries, protecting our natural resources, and making sure that we have accurate weather forecasts. Cutting away at NOAA, as you've been doing, and as your budget proposes to do further, is going to do serious harm. Among other cuts, your budget would completely eliminate the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund. That would be catastrophic failure. It would abandon our communities, our tribes, our industries who rely on salmon. And across the Pacific Northwest, salmon are not just fish. They are a way of life, and they are foundational to our economy and our culture. So I would like you to explain quickly why you proposed that cut. And I want to ask you, did you consult with our tribes or fishing communities who count on it before making that decision?
The issues are that we do the same thing in multiple ways in NOAA. We have not cut any hydrologists, which are the people who study the water.
But you eliminated the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund. That is what I'm precisely asking you about.
Well,
did you talk to our tribes or our fishermen before you did that?
Of course.
Well, I have spoken to the tribes. I've talked to the scientists. I've talked to the fishermen. No one in the Pacific Northwest supports those cuts. And I want everyone to know I will not vote for an appropriations committee or appropriations bill that eliminates that funding. Now, staying on NOAA, facilities like the Northwest Fisheries Science Center, which is in Seattle, are really in dire need of investment. For this reason, this CGS Appropriations Committee has long included language requiring the Secretary of Commerce to include the cost estimates for NOAA construction projects of more than $5 million in the congressional budget justification materials, as well as the 5-year cost estimates for those projects. Are you aware of that requirement?
My understanding is we filed our budget according to the CR with exact precision.
Well, have you submitted the department's FY26 congressional budget justification? It did not include the list of projects.
My
which is
understanding is
required to do.
the CR had certain obligations for us, and we followed them with precision. That's
Well,
my understanding.
the fact is that you are required by law to submit the NOAA PAC construction list to Congress with the budget. That wasn't done. Can we get that list by Friday?
I'll happily take a look at it, and if it's required, of course, I will send it in.
Okay, it is required. Mr. Secretary, I wrote a law, it was called the Digital Equity Act, to help close the digital divide, and it passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. Now, the administration has arbitrarily canceled billions of dollars for the Digital Equity Act, claiming it's unconstitutional. This is a program that every state, Democrat and Republican, has applied for, every single state in the country. It distributes laptops in Iowa. It helped people get back online after Hurricane Helene washed away computers and phones in western North Carolina. It's a program in rural Alabama where they taught seniors, including some who've never used a computer, how to use the internet. I wanted to ask you, has the Supreme Court declared this bipartisan law unconstitutional? Has any judge?
It'll go through the courts, and the courts will decide.
No one has declared this unconstitutional. No one. Your job, Mr. Secretary, is to carry out the law that Congress has passed. You don't get to keep laptops from our kids because the president doesn't care about rural communities, kids in rural communities. My advice to you here, it is a law. It is not unconstitutional. And I would urge you to get those digital equity dollars out the door and save everyone the legal fees because the law is very clear.
I hear you.
Okay. I just have a few seconds left, and before I finish, I do want to underscore my state, Washington State, is one of the most trade-dependent states in the nation. 40% of our jobs are connected to international trade, and President Trump and your department continue to pursue this chaotic tariff policy that business in my state stand to lose billions of dollars. I have heard from businesses across my state, from manufacturers, from small retailers. They are struggling to absorb the cost increases on everything from napkins to car parts. And this uncertainty has really left them scrambling, which has delayed investments and caused serious supply chain disruptions, especially at our ports. These actions, in addition, have really harmed our relationships with our key allies like Canada. Heard Senator Collins here earlier talking about Maine's being their neighbor. It is our neighbor in Washington State. They are one of our biggest trading partners. And let me be clear, this is causing chaos, disruption, anger, and we have got to get this resolved because farmers, or our people and our small businesses and our communities are really hurting. Thank you, Mr.
What you just witnessed wasn't just another tense Senate exchange. It was Senator Patty Murray drawing a hard line in defense of America's digital future. Her frustration wasn't performative. It was rooted in something real, the fundamental question of whether government leaders are honoring the laws passed by Congress and whether they understand what's at stake when they don't. When she said, "You don't get to keep laptops from our kids," that was more than a soundbite. It was a statement about priorities. Because in 2025, digital access isn't optional. It's the bridge between opportunity and exclusion, between participation and invisibility. And her larger point about the Secretary's role is critical. In our system, the executive branch doesn't get to cherry-pick which laws it enforces based on political preferences. Congress writes the law, the courts interpret it, the executive carries it out. That's the separation of powers, and it's not up for debate. But what this moment also highlights is something deeper, the widening gap between rhetoric about helping rural America and the actual policies that affect those communities. If a child in a small town can't get online for school, if a family farmer can't access market information, if an entire region can't connect to digital resources, that's not just an inconvenience, that's a structural barrier to growth. And Murray's frustration with the broader mismanagement of NOAA, the canceled tech hubs, and chaotic tariffs paints an even broader picture of an administration that seems to prize ideology over practicality. The people who feel the brunt of that are ordinary Americans, small businesses, fishermen, students, and families who depend on functioning institutions, not political theater. So when Senator Murray demands those digital equity funds be released, she's not fighting for a partisan win. She's defending the right of every American to have access to the tools of the modern world. Because in the 21st century, connectivity is equality. If you care about bridging that digital divide, if you believe every child deserves the same access to education, no matter their zip code, then this isn't just Senator Murray's fight, it's all of ours. Make sure to stay informed, speak up for local broadband initiatives, and hold leaders accountable when they try to roll back progress. The digital divide won't close itself. It closes when people demand action.